Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to today's Institute of Asset Management webinar. Our topic today is integrating lean thinking and ISO 55000. Before we start, a few quick reminders. First of all, who are your hosts? Today, as usual, we have Tom Smith of the University of Wisconsin and also director of the IAM US chapter, and a distinguished member of ISO's TC251, the committee that manages the ISO 55000 series, and myself, Baudouin Nayens, based in Canada. I work for Copperleaf. I'm the chair of the Canadian chapter of the IAM, and also right now I have been voluntold to be the chair of the Canadian delegation to ISO for TC251. So welcome everybody, and welcome Tom. Very quickly, the simple rule for today: we have a large audience. We're already well above 100 people online. So clearly we can't handle verbal questions. So you will see in your GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar dialog box that there is a questions tab. Please use that to type in your questions. We'll use that to pick up questions as they come in and answer as many of them as possible online, of course. Those that we cannot answer today just because we run out of time, we'll be following up with emails. Because we're doing this in typing in text, in questions, please make sure that you're as specific as possible, since we can't really go back and forth too much. And for those of you who like what you hear today, we're always looking for future webinars, future topics. So please don't hesitate to contact us, and you'll see our contact details at the end of this session. So today's presenter is Bernard Gaudreau. He is a Canadian presenter for once, like we've had a few US-based presenters lately. Now we're switching to Canada. He is the president of Planifica in Quebec. Bernard has 18 years of experience in asset management. He specializes in development and implementation of asset management strategies, and he also coaches his clients in organizational change management. Before founding Planifica in 2005, he occupied several strategy positions in firms specializing in municipal asset management, and he is a member of the Institute of Asset Management's board of directors in the UK, and also of the executive committee in Canada. He was one of the founding members of the Canadian chapter. Bernard holds a certificate in leading professional service firms from the University of Harvard, and he also has a BA in business administration of the Laval University in Quebec. And because Bernard is francophone, and therefore I assume that many of his friends in Quebec are listening, we're doing it all over in French. Bernard cumule plus de 18 ans d'expérience dans le domaine de la gestion d'actifs. Il se spécialise dans l'élaboration et la mise en place des stratégies et de plans de gestion d'actifs efficaces, et il accompagne également ses clients dans la gestion du changement organisationnel. Avant de cofonder Planifica en 2005, il a cumulé plusieurs postes stratégiques pour une firme spécialisée dans la gestion d'actifs municipaux. Monsieur Gaudreau est membre du CA et du comité exécutif de l'Institut of Asset Management du Canada pour pouvoir promouvoir le savoir et les bonnes pratiques en gestion d'actifs, et il sert évidemment les intérêts du Québec. Il fait partie des membres fondateurs qui ont créé ce chapitre canadien, et il siège également au siège central, au conseil du siège central de l'IAM en Angleterre. Monsieur Gaudreau détient un certificat en gestion de firmes de services professionnels de l'Université de Harvard et un baccalauréat en administration des affaires de l'Université de Laval. There you go. That's the only French you'll hear today, but we did it. So with that, I am going to hand over to Bernard so that he can actually start his presentation regarding integrating lean thinking and ISO 55000. Bernard, over to you. I'm going to make you presenter. Just give me a second. There you go, Bernard. You should have control.
All right. Thanks, Baudouin. Do you see well my screen?
Yes, indeed.
All right. So good afternoon. Thanks, Tom, and thanks, Baudouin, for this opportunity for presenting to. My goal with this presentation is really to stimulate insight and thoughts about asset management and lean management. So unfortunately, the format and technology we're using does not allow us to have an open discussion, but this was really the aim of this presentation. So we will try to do it with what we have. And after each section, I will turn to you, audience, for participation and stimulate discussion, as Baldwin mentioned, with the chat tool. Tom will pick some comment and or question and share it with us. Hope this differ a little bit from the traditional masterful presentation. We have a lot with this kind of work remote time, COVID-19, and I want this to be collaborative. And I don't have the wisdom about lean and asset management, so let's try to use this moment to share knowledge together. So in 2016, during my summer vacation in Florida, when we were allowed to travel, I've read Gamba Walk by Jim Womack, and I started to see many similarities with lean and asset management. Since then, I continued my asset management journey always with this in mind, and started to document myself with the lean community, the tools, the associations, and I even went on attending training for the white belt and yellow belt in lean Six Sigma. Today, my presentation is what I can share with you from my lens of 20 years of consulting in asset management with many industries, and particularly for the past years with the mining organization, where I have audited ISO 55001, two major business units in Canada and the US. So the presentation plan today is breakdown in four sections. A quick overview of what is lean and asset management, how they look like, how they do connect, and how we create value. So let's get started. And by the way, I'm like Baldwin told you, I'm a French Canadian, so bear with me with my English if it's not perfect. So here we go. All right, let's change. Yes, so lean, what is lean? It's maximizing customer value by reducing waste. So at first, the term value is very interesting, and also customer. Regarding asset management, creating value from assets in balancing risk, costs, and performance. Again, the term value is at the forefront, and I think it's a good assumption here that we are aiming for a common goal. So lean manufacturing, what is it? If we look at the top right corner here of the screen, we have a great summary of what the aim of lean is all about. So we have the optimist, which the glass is half full. We have the pessimist, which the glass is half empty. And at the end, we have the lean thinker, why the glass is as twice as it should be. So that's really a good summary of what it's all about. And actually, it started from the automotive industry in the early 15s. And Henry Ford was really at the birth with the fabrication step process in sequence with the Model T of the lean thinking. After that, Toyota was inspired by the flow production system developed by Henry Ford, and the flow production uses moving assembly lines to produce cars by introducing belt conveyor. This development made manufacturing simplistic, and parts were made interchangeable, a key factor for success of mass production. So Toyota wanted to increase their productivity and look at the success of Ford, but due to the lack of financial after World War II and the human resources, the changing market on demand, they wanted to have more variability of products. So Toyota had to develop its own production method, and this became the Toyota production system. In the early 90s, Jim Womack was really the instigator of lean enterprise, and with his first book, the machine that changed the world, um, Jim Womack was the research director at the International Motor Vehicle Program at the MIT in Boston, and he was the founder 7 years later of the Lean Enterprise Institute based in Boston as well. And 10 years later, the Lean Global Network was founded as well. So the Lean Enterprise Institute, his aim is, and the purpose is a body of knowledge and to share experience and process about Lean. And the global network is to make sure that everybody around the globe can share expertise on Lean. Those two associations are really a great point of similarities with what we're viewing with the Institute of Asset Management and the Global Forum. So the Lean key principle, value, we want to identify value from the customer's needs at first, and then identify what is the value stream. So we want to map what is producing value to the customer, and we want to reduce waste along the way. After waste has been removed, we want to make sure that the flows is smooth with the other steps around the value stream, and we want to make sure to avoid interruption, delays, and bottlenecks. Usually there's a good way of improvement in the flows between the different part of the organization, for example, administration, production. So a lot of time there's big improvement gaps there. The pull improvement of time to market, a good example of that is Absolute Vodka. Bottles for the shift are not docking before the shift start. They just have 3 hours of safety stock on hand. So again, very aligned with the time to market. Perfection, making lean thinking and process improvement part of the organizational culture. So that's a key word again here, organizational culture. On the asset management side, the asset management practice started around 88, where regulators have asked to assess asset integrity of all platform in the North Sea because of the catastrophic event of the failure of Piper Alpha in 88. This is why we use a lot the terms in our industry. What is your burning platform to describe the ignition of asset management journey? Other constraints have started also with utilities and public transport privatization in the UK in the mid-90s, where massive failure have occurred. So with that context, a bunch of motivated engineers started to write the PAS 55 in a pub, and this was the early birth of the IAM back in 1984, and where the PAS 55 was the first element of knowledge sharing by the Institute. So the Institute is a body of knowledge with different literature. The aim is to share this knowledge around the globe. And in 2010, Global Forum on Maintenance and Asset Management was created, where again, alignment toward asset management around globe was looking for. Many similarities with the Lean Institute and the Lean Global Network again, kind of the same years also. So we can be inspired by both journey of good step from the Lean Enterprise Institute and also from the Institute of Asset Management. Key principle about the asset management, two journeys, corporate journey, individual journey. Alignment is at the forefront. Framework to get there, 16, 39 subjects, 7 competencies. You guys are all aware of our industry, so I will be more brief on that. But the key principle here is really to have a framework at the heart of the asset management system. So Lean and asset management, how they look alike. From my point of view, I think both are management philosophy. If we look at asset management, creating value from assets, having the line of sight at the end, and engaging people to move forward this direction. Lean, it's about creating value to the customer and reducing waste in the value stream, in engaging people to do it on a day-to-day basis. Here, the people is the key denominator. If you want to engage people, you're talking about a management challenge. And Lean is about culture. It's about getting everyone to embrace Lean in the organization. It's about acting on fact and not on opinion. And we want to work together, not in silos. Very much the same about asset management. It's a new way of thinking. We want to be aligned with the business strategy of the organization. It's a culture thing also, and we want to bring more engineering into the business and more business into the engineering. So what are the core concepts that are similar for Lean and asset management? So Lean, the 3 main items are purpose, process, and people. Purpose, if you don't have a clear purpose on the asset management side, alignment will be very difficult to make. In the process side, if you don't have a documented process on how to deliver your purpose with clear role and responsibilities, it will be very hard to get this line of sight. And on the people one, if you need to engage people to make things happen, again, people do asset management, not the assets. So it's very interesting. And again, in the IAM poster, where we have a couple of terms similar here, maybe the purpose arrow should have been the other way around, but that's just an observation on my side. But again, key ingredient of similarity: purpose, process, and people, and alignment, process, and people and assets. Asset management and Lean. We have 2 great visualization of Lean and asset management here: the Lean house and the asset management onion peel. Again, the 2 visualization tool, if you want to get to the line of sight to create value, you need to build on solid grounds. And that's the aim of the 2 management approach. Here, you can't deliver value, the Lean roof, or the top of the onion peel if you don't have the structure. You need the foundation in Lean and the pillars in the asset management systems. Also, the bottom-up approach can represent the maturity level of an organization must achieve to get to a full-length integration and asset management alignment. My experience tells me that if the people are focusing too fast on the end result, the Lean philosophy takes time and cultural change before being able to function properly. Same with asset management. If you don't have an asset register, an asset condition in place, it will be hard to develop robust asset management system. So I'm turning a little bit to you guys. This is the first section, how they look alike. Any more ideas on your end? What are the similarities in lean and asset management?
Knowing Tom, I'm sure he has a few observations.
I do. It's interesting when I looked at what you're saying. Lean came out of the automotive industry, but we use it, or my department, my colleagues, my research colleagues, and teaching colleagues use it regularly in our university work. We value stream map our projects, whether they're research or public service projects or coursework. And it really does keep your feet to the fire in terms of not only mapping the waste or the potential waste at each phase of development, that is the time, effort, and money that goes into the phase, and looking at how much there is there, but also the lag times between phases. And universities are notorious for doing things slowly, but we've found that if we value stream map what we're doing, we can engage faculty in a much quicker development process, a much more rigorous development process, and everybody involved appreciates it. They like knowing where they are and where they're going, and they like knowing, what the last phase was and how long they have through the next one. And the ultimate result is, of course, delivery to the customer. And we do think of students as customers. I mean, we do pay attention to what the students pay for and what they're getting for what they pay for. And in our case, a lot of what they're paying is time. They're paying money for tuition, but they're spending time, and we try and respect the time of everybody involved, faculty and student. And I think that's a part of that lean philosophy is the communication of what you're doing and the respect for everybody that's involved in the process. And I see we have a couple of questions. So
yeah, actually, Rolf Godot mentioned that in his mind, the concept of asset management is about reaching a steady state versus the stability that lean brings. And there's a question here: how does lean and asset management compare regarding stakeholder engagement? Any thoughts on that, Bernard?
That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
That's a very good question. From my point of view, from the lean, if you value stream, there you will have identify where the stakeholders are critical in your value stream, and what are your management strategies regarding this this identity in the value stream. So then what are the tools to manage or mitigate or to communicate with them? Again, like you said, Tom, many tools, and I will show a little bit further in the presentation, but many tools which lean use a lot of visualization tool could be very helpful in communicating to stakeholders. I hope it has answered your question.
Well, one of my comments, the last webinar we did was with the Port of Virginia, and they talked about their asset management team and asset management work group and all the members of the group. And one of the discussions I had afterwards was about the involvement of sales and marketing in asset management, and the fact that I've been involved in a number of efforts where once the sales folks understand what asset management does for the organization, they are more than happy to sell it. It helps them. And so they're a stakeholder, and they come into the process. If you map the process and tell them what's going on and how it helps the organization, they get it very quickly. But you need to communicate that. And once that picture is made, then you really have another stakeholder. And I think that works for all the stakeholders, that the lean approach, that the being efficient and being quantitative and careful with it, describing what you're doing, helps everybody take it seriously and communicate it.
Yep. So here's another question, which is kind of a bit connected, or definitely an interesting one again, is what would you say can be the impacts of the concept of sustainability when using the lean approach to improve asset management?
Well, sustainability, I think asset management, the aim of that asset management at the end, the result is sustainability. So you will see where I have done some connection, but lean help you get there on a day-to-day basis. But for sure, sustainability is at the heart of the thinking, because we're thinking about the whole life cycle of asset, and at the end, the result is more sustainable. It's a sustainability approach.
Excellent.
And anytime you take the effort seriously, anytime you take it seriously and show people what you're doing quantitatively, it helps sustainability.
Yep. Yeah. Here's a follow-on question.
Maybe you just one more. So because I see the time at 27. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're panicking. I can see that. So there's one word that's a good one though, and that is a follow-on question on what we were talking about before. And doesn't lean focus more on a product cycle, while asset management focuses on the assets life cycle?
A product or a process?
A product cycle. So.
No, I know, but I'm returning a little bit the question. So
okay.
That's interesting, but is it more a product or a process? That's and what is a product? Is it a service that can be delivered if we produce water? Yeah, good question. But I think in the way we see it, it can be applicable because on a day-to-day basis, lean helps you improve your product or the service delivery also. So it can be applicable, I think.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Bernard, you had the half mark. So yeah, if you want to continue, that would be great.
All right. So how they connect and those questions. Thanks again. And I think the sharing of knowledge and discussion is very interesting. And I hope that in the future we have more flexibility in the technology to engage this kind of discussion. So thanks for your question and participation. So the journey versus daily, and that's a little bit the last question, product or asset management life cycle. I was looking at the asset management, the IAM poster, and actually I look at it a lot. And it's funny, you always find new stuff each time. So seriously, I was looking at it with in mind where lean could fit, and there is a continuous improvement loop here, and actually lean could be a great fit in this loop, and it's also further ahead in the journey. That's an observation. So you need to have certain maturity to be able to improve, and you need tools to assess where you are in the journey. And this is when the asset maturity scale comes in. bear with me. I hope you will see the same link. So we have our maturity scale that is helping us to assess where we are on the journey. And there is 6 possible stages from innocent to excellent. And actually, this term here, innocent, we had should be banned in French. The translation for this word is like if you were dumb. So we had a very hard time at first using this graph when it was not translated. But again, so you can identify project opportunities after the maturity assessment to define your asset management roadmap, but there is no really improvement loop in the process. And this is where Lean could be integrated to help develop the asset management maturity. So actually, the current asset management maturity model is a comparison model based on asset management performance. A maturity level is provided, and an improvement loop here in the maturity model is probably missing and could be added. And this is where Lean tools could be used to give direction for the improvement in the maturity. Before those tools can be used, the asset value must be well defined. What are the influencing factors for the improvement methods? What are the industry actors, production process, asset life cycle? But really, once you had created this improvement loop, the improvement method should make a distinction between strategic level, tactical level, operational level. The method also should focus on asset management, not improvement of one activities within the asset management, but again, the big picture. All aspects of asset management as defined in the ISO standard should be taken into account. And again, here, data is a word that is very important, where we want to base decision on fact, on data, and not assumption. So Lean tools could definitely help improve the asset management journey. We have discussed, Tom has told the example of value stream mapping their projects. Absolutely, the value stream mapping is really a good tool. That's an example where it's a visual process where you identify where you create value. And so what are your critical assets in the value stream? Do you have a different maintenance strategy for those assets? What are the inspection frequency? It really helps to visualize where you create value. And again, from your purpose. Tom, you said the students were your customers, and so the purpose is to train students, and that's really very important in value stream mapping to attach it to your purpose. Again, with the discussion we had, we need to have this thinking, not about just the asset activities, but throughout the whole life cycle of the asset. That's a different mindset. So we want to focus a little bit more on the long term than in the short term. And also on the other way around, so Lean for asset management, but what about the assets supporting a Lean approach? And supporting the Lean enterprise, well, the more Lean you are, the more dependable your asset becomes to the production, and therefore asset reliability will be more important when applying Lean thinking in the production. So there's a lot of dependencies on both asset and the Lean approach. Real life example. At one mining site, we have visited the haul trucks fleet. Each haul trucks has more than 3,000 sensors to measure performance. You saw in the feedback loop a couple slides ago the data, and you had the analyze box also there. So they were able to analyze for one asset task, which is the oil changing of the whole truck. And they have analyzed the oil quality and started to extend the interval of service, extend more than what the manufacturer were recommending, and they were able with that to extend the service and the production time to the haul trucks. And this needs to have a very more long-term vision for management and really aligned to the purpose of the business. So the ground team is doing this kind of strategy. It allows the ground team to do this kind of strategy, and those kind of analysis to extend service life, to give more production, could be applied to pretty much every piece in the haul truck, so the tires, engine, overall, etc. So that's an example of, kind of a lean and asset management integration. So at the end of the day, I think asset management keeps the line of sight, and lead helps us getting there on a day-to-day basis with the different tools to make this improvement. Lean can help develop the maturity and create more value along the way, and lead management on the other side requires more reliable assets. So again, just maybe 5 to 10 minutes on what is your point of view on how they connect. Do you see other links? Any comments on the links with maturity and asset reliability? Tom, Baudouin?
So I have a good question for you, which is very much related to what you just described. And the question is, will the lean approach affect maintenance strategy and impact asset risk?
So the lean with the maintenance strategy is to identify what are the best way of reducing the waste along the value stream. So if the haul truck, for example, are coming in for maintenance on too many, the time needs to be extended, then the lean tools to improve this problem will be a great value add to engage the people in sorting out what is the problem and what are the solution to improve productivity. But again, it's really to improve productivity and to reduce waste. And the risk on this, on the other side, is you need to do it not at the expense of the risk you're willing to take from your purpose of the business and your context. So yeah, that's a little bit of your, I hope I've answered a little bit of your question there.
That's good. So I'm just looking here, there's a couple coming in. So therefore, is it better to have a lean approach or to have a uptime / prescriptive maintenance approach? Or can they be combined?
Yeah, and why not? Lean and uptime, uptime should be, focusing on, lean. You're being lean if you're focusing on uptime. So I don't see that as competing from my point of view. I don't know you, Tom, or Baldwin on your side, but I don't see that competing.
No, I don't see any competition at all. And I think the thing that you mentioned, which is very appropriate to other discussions we have, is the focus on data. You know, the waste reduction, the lag time reduction, and all those things are completely data driven. And we've had a lot of discussion, a lot of issues in asset management around the asset register and around the data collected around asset management. And the fact that in many cases asset data is not there, and the lean approach is only workable when you're willing to collect data. I mentioned our university courses. One of the data points that we collect is time on task. That is, every assignment that we give to a student, we measure and test in advance to see how long it's going to take to complete with a range of students, so that when we design a course and we tell the students it's 50 hours or 500 hours of work, we're not just guessing. Mm-hmm. And they genuinely appreciate that because they're budgeting time just like everybody else. And I think that role of data in the lean approach is extremely important, and makes that difference between, as you said, the manufacturer's recommendation, the prescriptive maintenance, and the value-based maintenance.
All right. Well, that actually ties in interestingly. I mean, you mentioned the word design, and that of course ties into another question that we got in here, which is, do you see a difference between lean and reliability engineering or reliability growth plans?
No, because I think in the design phase, lean should be integrated into the design process. If you want to, into your value stream, where you have mapped your value stream, you will design consequently to reduce the most waste from the design process. I don't know if I got the question right, but that's I think lean should be integrated in the design process. So it makes sure that you create a value stream at first that is the most optimist, efficient to what is the purpose of the plant.
We've got a comment here actually in this context, and that is lean eliminates the non-value added activities, but doesn't necessarily reduce the amount of activity, whereas RCM often identifies activities not currently performed, but that ought to be or that should be performed. So any comments on that?
Well, that's a good comment. Actually, the point of this discussion is to see if there is similarities into lean and to asset management, and is it possible to integrate the best of both worlds, of best of what's in lean to asset management. So if RCM has better way of addressing some part of the asset management journey, again, I don't think we need to see competition and use whatever tools out there to be more efficient.
Yeah.
So if we have, I think we need to, unfortunately, and it's bad, but I think we need to get to the next section, Baldwin.
Yeah. Can I ask you one little last question, which is very much tied into what we just talked about, and that is, does lean actually deal with unplanned events?
Good question. Well, you will need to do some Kaizen to if there's an unplanned event and you want to make sure that you react the greatest way, so kind of a resilience way of it. So again, it's a toolbox. So do you use your knife or your hammer today? well, it could be used. So if you think you are able to use the Lean Toolbox for addressing an unplanned event, I'm sure the H3 report and the Kaizen tools could be great tools to engage people in making sure that these things doesn't happen again.
Excellent. Well, over to you, Bernard. Go ahead with your last session there.
All right. So how do we create value using maybe the lean tools into the asset management journey? So how we define value? Well, two widely used approach to conceptualize value in an organization are, well, value stream, which we have discussed a lot, and value chain also, which actually Tom has discussed a lot at the IAM. And as mentioned, the value stream mapping is really a good tool to visualize the value. With Lean, you want to eliminate waste along the value stream, but on the asset management side, we need to connect the assets together to create a system or a value stream that generate the value. That's food for thought, but you know, if we see assets as a system, this is where the asset system creates value based on the purpose of the organization. So how the Lean Toolbox can support the pillars of in the asset management journey. Couple of Lean tools that I've highlighted today, Lean boards, which is a really good communication tools to visualize, you know, performance. H3 report, problem solving tool, Kaizen, you know, we need to improve process. 5S, TPM, total preventive maintenance, PDCA, performance measure system or KPIs, OEE, so overall equipment effectiveness. This is a great, I think, KPI to help, you know, understand the value of assets. And Pokayoke, where it's a process to avoid mistakes. Lean together, solving problems. So like the H3 and Kaizen, I think it's really good tool to engage people onto the asset management journey, but on the day-to-day basis. And it's really good to have people responsible, accountable for solving the problem. This is a kind of an example of what we have done with an H3 report. Actually, there is 7 steps in the H3 report. So what is the background? It's in French, but what is the background? What are the current conditions? What are the goals and the targets? What analysis we have done? What are the proposed countermeasure? What is planned? And what are the follow-up action to be done? So this was an example of a pumping station where we have done this H3 report on an 11 by 17 paper that could be like folded in 2, and where the operators were walking around with it to discuss with management and the team of what was the problem and what was the action plan. So they knew like the next year they had to, you know, change those kind of equipment for this amount of money, and for the 2 to 5 years, what was the next equipment to be changed, and then more the long-term approach with the life cycle, 6 to 10 years, so they keep the heads up of what's coming and what would be the action items to follow up on that. So great tool, visualize on a 11 by 17 paper, very easy, powerful to communicate and visualize the situation. Another tool that is could be used is the total preventive maintenance, and TPM emphasize on proactive and preventive maintenance to maximize the operational efficiency of the equipment, and it blurs the distinction between the role of production and maintenance, and by placing a strong emphasis on empowering operators and to help maintain their equipment. So in other words, you need to engage people, as the machine uptime does not rely onto the maintenance people hands, but more collaboratively with the operator's hands. A good example of this is a plant operator for the line 1, for example, and do the morning talk to all the team with a mic, so everybody listen to it and hear it in the plant, and about the operations and the maintenance upcoming today, and that tomorrow there is a major shutdown that is planned. So the operator show that he owns all the life cycle of the asset, not just the operation, but it's really a team effort. And from some research I've read, TPM and PMS, where is performance measure system, or KPIs, can increase the overall effectiveness of asset up to 10%. It can also eliminate the rework, like Tom was mentioning, by 30% in some cases. And what I've seen from some mining organization where the goal was to improve the OEE of 5%, it shows that it was around 800 million of revenue for this mining organization. So big numbers, again, tools to help what is the value. That's the key here. And asset management, usually we have, it's a lot of philosophy and more theoretical approach sometimes. So if we have tools like this that can help along the journey on a day-to-day basis, quantify more of this value. Another tool, which is lean boards. Again, if you don't see it, you cannot own it. So visual management is a key enabler to engage people in the performance of the organization. Lead boards are also maybe all the way to the operator's level in an ideal world. The frequency of lean boards can be high in some organization, every day in some cases, 3 times a week. It can depend on the need, but the things is that you show up every time in front of your lean board, and you need to be responsible for your KPIs. So it make it clear who owns the responsibility, and if you don't hit the target, you need to explain yourself. So very powerful visualized tool. You need to own your KPIs, and again, it helps in the journey, because on a day-to-day basis you are aligned and you wanted to hit your targets. We're going digital with remote work, with this resilience mode kind of COVID-19. So lean board could become more digital board, where we have seen, some emerging out there. This is an example of the value stream of a mining industry, and you can see here what are the assets risk at the forefront, and you see from the value stream where you have, here you have probably a challenge at this plant, and actually they had a major shutdown plan there. So you can see rapidly where are the risks on the value stream, and what do you do to mitigate those risks. Again, other indicators that are more and more able to be produced by SharePoint and Power BI out there. So again, if you don't see it, you don't own it. So the digital with our remote location now will help us to see those kind of KPIs. Supporting business stability. I think lean and asset management can support business stability and help create tangible value to organization. Just an example, Rio Tinto Group began implementing lean into the aluminum ore mining in 2004. And really what lean means for them is activating cell leaders. So again, this is really connected to the leadership pillar that we have in asset management, requesting employee to comply, agree on terms of employment with the purpose and what it's all about. Presenting visually the key data related to manufacturing efficiency. So again, visual management. Enabling lowest tier employee to make database operational decision. Again, the link with the old truck who I have mentioned. So you need to have data to help the team hit the targets. And organizing operational and maintenance employees. So governance, want to make sure that there's no silos, more people into integration in the governance of and maintenance of the assets. So with this kind of approach, Lean was named, actually, the program of Lean was named at Rio, and it was improving performance together. So powerful words together, I think, and it comes back to people do asset management and people do lean management. We deal about people, we deal about management, so it's management philosophy. And at the end, the value for that was in the business report, where in 2008 the lean improving performance together generated around 28 million of improvement and saving. So big numbers. Again, this is interesting. Is it a good tool to help support what is the value of asset management? Interesting to know. So if I turn to you guys, what are other good example out there? How do you create value with lean and asset management? Baudouin and Tom?
Yeah, so first, actually, before we go there, there's a question tied into resilience. You talked quite a bit about resilience, and the question is really, do you see lean needing to adapt to allow for resilience, given the experience of COVID on the supply chain?
That's a good question. Yeah, maybe so, because nobody was really prepared for that. So actually, I'm part of one group of the IAM, which calls the hot topics, and maybe there are some folks from the group on this webinar again, but this could be a very interesting reflection idea, where we need to think of should it be integrated or adapt. That's a good question.
Yeah. So with regards to good experiences, Rolf Godot, who works in the rail industry or transit and rail industry in Australia, and amazingly is with us today. What he mentions is VM boards are used in the Victoria, Australia rail system for tactical management of railways. It's an excellent tool to cascade asset management objectives through the organization.
Very interesting.
And there is a question here, which is a bit tied into all this, is do we actually have tools to determine the key parameters for different maintenance regimes during the asset life cycle?
That's a good question. I'm not a maintenance specialist, so I cannot answer the question, but maybe we can find somebody out there in the webinar that can answer that. But from my point, I don't know.
Okay, we'll leave it open, and maybe we can indeed find some answers later. Another question, which is a bit tied into this, is what tools have you found useful to bring about the cultural acceptance of this new way of doing things? This person has found within her industry, public transportation, there's more understanding and respect for reliability engineering, but lean is still very new and not fully appreciated.
So that would be interesting to know why it's not appreciated. And but again, where we go back to the pillars of the lean house, usually the ignition start is with TPM. So where you bring in more of the maintenance people with the operation people. So it's more of a breaking silos and more about culture and more about, you know, doing things together along the way. So if you adjust governance a little bit on, you know, if the maintenance people are in a facility that is not connected to the operation, I don't know, and they feel, you know, they are a tribe. So we want to break the tribe, and that's TPM could be a good tool to start with.
Yeah, we're
no,
on the hour. Tom, do you have any thoughts?
I do. Two things. I really like the point that you made that that lean provides database delivery to the lowest level employees, and I think that getting that habit of making database decisions at every level is incredibly important, and not leaving it to mid and upper management and saying, well, they'll take care of the data, but doing it all the way down. And I believe that's also part of the problem with adopting lean is database decisions are hard and they expose a lot of weaknesses, and people will be naturally fearful of making commitments and making database decisions. It's they're hard to talk your way out of when you make mistakes, and the organization has to make it pretty clear at the beginning how mistakes will be handled and tolerated, and what the bargain is that you're entering into when you make clearly phase-based database decisions. But otherwise, it's a frightening proposition to go from whistling your way through a day to database decisions.
Yep. And for sure, and be in front of the lean board and, you know, defend your KPIs that didn't hit the target, for sure. That's that could be a little bit scary. Yeah.
Oh, it is scary. Yeah, I've been there, defending decisions that actions that didn't make it. Yeah.
The good thing is you're still alive, Tom, so you can actually survive those sessions. That's good to know. So actually, the follow-on on the earlier question about transportation is lean is still seen very much as a manufacturing-centric discipline, and its applicability to public transportation operations is still questioned. Is that a fair comment? Is that something that you guys have experienced too?
Well, at the start, it was really called, yeah, lean manufacturing, and that's why Jim Womack tried to bring the Lean Enterprise Institute and more broader perspective of where you can apply lean. Actually, in the healthcare, lean is very much, we see a lot here in the province, lean management approach developed. Also in insurance companies, where we see a lot of lean management approach develop to become more lean enterprise. So yeah, we see that lean is becoming more and more here in geographically here. we see lean that is more involved in other business than just manufacturing.
Excellent. Bernard, I hope that was the end of your presentation because we're over time, or do you have some further comments or conclusions that you want to present?
Well, maybe just to wrap up quick, hope you all have a good insight and discussion. This is really the seeds, and you're going back with this insight, and I think lean could be part of the asset management journey, and it's a key component of the continuous improvement, and could be supporting the maturity development of your organization. And I think also lean could be a key value driver into the asset management and helping building the business case. And again, removing waste from the value stream can increase reliability of the assets. So great dependencies there. So yeah, that's it. So thank you very much, everybody.
Well, thank you indeed. I'm just going to quickly, therefore, remind everybody that this is organized by the Institute of Asset Management, and we need you to join because clearly there's a lot of interesting topics that can be discussed. So join us. There's both a US and a Canadian chapter. Both of us have local branches. You can see that here. And the key, of course, is to get involved. And indeed, if you have ideas for future webinars, please send them to us. You see our email addresses here. And our next webinar, which will be in about 4 weeks' time, also brought to you from Canada, will be about modeling in asset management. And I'm talking, unfortunately, of digital models. We're not having any kind of sex bombs or anything like that on stage. Sadly enough, it'll be about digital models. But nevertheless, I think should be very interesting. And also don't forget, of course, that come November, we will again have our North American conference. Last year, that was a great success. This year, it will 99% sure now that it will be a digital, virtual version of the conference. But I think that will give us opportunities to actually bring in speakers from further afield and also to have people from further afield participate. So I think that we'll leverage it and we'll make the best out of it. So thank you very much, Bernard. Thank you, Tom. I think your insights were phenomenal. And certainly, if I look at the audience numbers, we're peaking at 200 and it stayed at 200 pretty much during the whole session. So clearly, you captivated the audience, which is great. The presentation will be made available in a few days' time, and you will also get a little survey to tell us more about what you think. Thank you again, and we hope to see you soon.
Do we stay on, Baudouin?
We are going to shut down this webinar pretty soon, and the questions that have not been answered live, there's a few coming in right now, we will answer through email to the individuals that are asking. So don't worry, that will happen.
And for the wrap up of this, do you want to talk off this webinar?
Yes, I will call you in a second. We'll first log everybody off. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. All right. Sorry.